City had a TV show host that showed the Three Stooges and different cartoons. Well, in Philadelphia we had Sally Starr, who was a beautiful blonde woman dressed up as a cowgirl, and very popular in Philadelphia. So of course me and thousands of children would rush home from school to watch not only her but also the Three Stooges. So I've loved the Stooges for a long time. Roughly 13 years ago, I belonged to a Three Stooges fan club, and I collect Three Stooges memorabilia, especially vintage stuff from the 30s, 40s, 50s, early 60s. I was out in California for a Laurel and Hardy convention, and there were some Stooges fans there as well. Well, the reason I bring that up is in the early 30s there was a Laurel and Hardy film called The Music Box, and in it Laurel and Hardy are piano movers, and their job is to bring up a big piano up a tall flight of stairs. Three Stooges did something similar in 1941 in a short called An Ache in Every Steak, in which the boys are icemen and they have to bring up a big block of ice up a tall set of stairs on a hot summer day. And of course the usual Stooges mayhem occurs as a result. Well, a lot of Stooges fans and Laurel and Hardy fans thought that the two steps in question were the same. Well, I knew they weren't, and my job or my quest that I decided to take on was to find the Stooges steps. So as a result of looking for the location, I realized that there was all these Three Stooges locations that were yet to be discovered. So I took that job on, and between good detective work on myself and some luck and being at the right place at the right time, in some cases we're actually knowing the right people to find out where some of these locations were. Eventually I discovered them all. And through the process of working on it, I was also writing articles for a Three Stooges fan club journal. And as a result, got a following. Well, after a while, people started bugging me, Jim, you have to do a book. Well, it evolved from suggestions to demands. Jim, you better do a book. So I put a proposal together, and after signing a contract with Santa Monica Publishing out of California, here we are today. The book is completed. I do have to thank my publisher. He made it hardback and 336 pages, high quality pages, which makes many, or all of the pictures actually just jump off the page. And I have to say that there's a lot of unpublished photos in this book that well over 40 books. Let me start over for a second. In 1973, Larry Fine published the first book called A Stroke of Luck, and since then there's been over 40 books written on the Three Stooges, and of course this is the first one that touches on this particular subject of where the boys filmed their funny stuff back in the 30s, 40s, and 50s on the streets of Los Angeles.
Now you live in Philadelphia though. How did you get out here to do all that stuff? I mean, just keep taking trips out here? Or?
Well, my job provided me with some vacation time, so I would take my vacation out here in Los Angeles. So I would come out roughly 2 times a year, spending anywhere from 7 to 10 days each trip to visit. And I wouldn't just do research on the Stooges. I had friends out here as well, but most of my research would be done at home, studying the shorts, trying to come up with clues. And once I had those clues, which might be a street sign or the name of the business, I would go to the LA Public Library and look up those business names in a original, like mid-1930s city directory. And keep in mind, this is before Google, and this is before Google Maps, so I didn't have that luxury. Today, if I was starting over, I would just go on the internet and type in the information and come up with an address, and then be able to actually walk down the street using Google Maps, for instance, to help prove the location. But back in the day, which was 13 years ago, 12, 13 years ago, and I would do it the hard way. I would hit the bricks, as they say.
Do you know, one question that I've had is, and I've never studied this, but since you're on a, you know about the Stooges, when it came to the scripts, did they have a lot of input in their scripts, or did they have just studio writers that would just say, well, here's what we're going to do, and here's the script, and you guys do it, or how did that process work?
Well, majority of the scripts, of course, were done by professional writers, but the Stooges did have somewhat of an input. Both Curly and Shemp, if they did an ad lib, and of course they did, and it was liked by the producer or director, they would keep it in. But unfortunately for us, a lot of stuff hit the cutting room floor, and I wish we still had that stuff today, because that would have made a great extra, you know, as a DVD release from Sony Pictures, which now owns Columbia Pictures. But
yeah.
We wish we had.
Well, Laurel and Hardy scripts I've seen are real skimpy. At least the ones I've seen, there's not a whole lot to them, so I guess they were like improvising. How much of their
Right.
shorts were?
Well, that would be the opposite of the Stooges scripts, because I have seen almost every Stooges script. A lot of them exist in private collections or at the Margaret Herritt Library as a result of Jules White donating his collection. So the original scripts do exist, and they're detailed, and the Stooges did stick to them pretty much to a T. Although I must say there are occasions where it would say something like Curly does his routine, which meant Curly might get on the floor and dance a little bit, funny stuff like that. But 99% of the script was followed by the boys.
And you said something really interesting about their vaudeville experience, and can you say a few things about that? Because you're right, the actors today just don't have anything like that. I mean, vaudeville was something that was just so fantastic, like a training ground for all this.
Sure. Well, all four Stooges, that being Moe, Larry, Curly, and Shemp, grew up in vaudeville. Matter of fact, I believe, and you might quote me on this, I believe Joe Besser and Joe DeVita also did vaudeville, but I never really studied what they did. But I can safely say Moe, Larry, Shemp, and Curly, grew up in vaudeville, did it the hard way. Not only were they funny guys, they also sang and danced as well. And they pretty much got started in the 1920s. That would be Moe and Shemp working with Ted Healy, a well-known comedian at the time. They bump into Larry at a club called the Rainbow Room in Chicago, and they asked Larry to join the group. And a quick history lesson. So it's now Ted Healy, Moe, Larry, and Shemp. Shemp doesn't like the fact that Ted Healy's drinking too much and he's a little abusive verbally, so Shemp leaves the act, and that's when Curly's brought in. So now you got Ted Healy, Moe, Larry, and Shemp doing vaudeville, and they also break into MGM to do roughly 6 full-length feature films with MGM. One, which a long-lost film since 1967, a film called Hello Pop, was just recently discovered in roughly November, December of 2012. Huge news in not only the film world, but of course the Three Stooges world as well. So Warner Brothers has that Hello Pop nitrate film now as we speak, and is in the process of restoring it. So of course we can't wait to see that. So fast forward to 1934. Now the boys, Moe, Larry, and Curly, are kind of tiring of Ted Healy's antics. He's drinking too much and not treating the boys as well as they should. So they decide to break away, and of course sign a contract with Columbia Pictures, and the rest is history. If you are a Three Stooges fan and would like to see a museum, there is a place near Fort Washington, Pennsylvania called the Stoogeum, and it's a private collection. Well worth it. Has an 85-seat theater where, of course, Stooges shorts are shown, and a world-class collection of not only Three Stooges toys that came out in the late 50s, early 60s, but also original movie posters, lobby cards, a lot of personal effects of the boys, some stuff from Hollywood, such as props that were used in some of their full-length feature films, not their shorts, and also some costumes that were used in their full-length feature films as well.
Okay, and there's going to be signed copies of the book here at Larry Edmunds, right?
Yes, here at Larry Edmunds. That's what I'm doing right now. I'm signing some books, and I have to thank Jeff for making our event happen here. He's a great guy. Come support Larry Edmunds Bookshop.
Thank you, thank you.
Thanks.